Hey everyone, welcome back to the Brickhaven project. In today's video, we are finally going to be unveiling my brand new expansion. That is the residential area. So, let's get into it. So if you saw my last video, you would have gotten to see a bit of a sneak peek of this expansion where I showed off some of the river that I have running in between the end of Brickhaven and the beginning of the residential area. So let's start there. So when it comes to the very edge of the city, you can see I do have a train track that divides both the city and the residential area. Now this serves two purposes. Not only does it give a nice bit of a separation, showing that you are officially leaving the city of Brickhaven, but it also doubles as a reversing loop for the train. And this is actually super useful when you're running the trains because you can bring them to the inner loop here and you can reverse them using the reversing loop here. And then continuing off of that, you can see we have our custom river. So it starts all the way at the back section here where we have some bridges for the train tracks. And then that flows underneath this road section, comes all the way through here. I'll try to get you down so you can see all the little details that I put in. And then it goes underneath this road section here and then continues up front. And this is where it kind of curves around and kind of settles into this area here. And then we do have it leave this pond area through these train bridges up at the very front, which I think look really nice and create a really cool visual look. I'm definitely into the landscaping and the scenic scenes, and creating this river / pond area is a very nice contrast compared to all the buildings that we're used to having up front by the main train line. Beyond the river, we start to get into some of our main structures. These are the houses. So the first house you might recognize because it is the Simpsons house. I did not make any modifications to this model other than putting it on a Mills plate and adding some detail around it, but it is the same set that you were able to buy on shelves, I think back in 2015. But I did make two custom houses, so these are completely custom, no inspiration from other sources. And so we have this white residential house here, and then we have this sand green residential house here. And this was primarily inspired because I found a lot of sand green brick on the pick-a-brick wall, which was very useful when creating that house. And so one of my main goals in creating these houses was trying to capture all the realism in family homes and really trying to give it that small town residential feel, which I think comes across very nicely. And then at the back, I have a custom church, which again is a completely custom mock of my own. And this has some really cool stained glass windows, which we'll get a closer look at when we flip to the back of the city. And then behind the church, there is a parking lot, which then leads back into the residential houses. So this is my completed residential area. I'm really happy with how it turned out. There's definitely some room for improvement. I want to continue to upgrade the landscaping that I have in front of the Simpsons house, and I am definitely hoping to continue upgrading the landscaping in all areas of the layout, as it's something that I really think brings a lot of life to the city, and it's always something where if you add a lot more, it gives a lot greater effect when you're looking at the layout as a whole. One of my favorite scenes on the continuation of Main Street is this small construction scene. And so this is one of my favorite uses of the Mills plate system. You can see I was able to remove some of the plate work underneath the road there, so that way I was able to create this effect as if they were digging into the road. And I think this is a really good use of the Mills plate system, and it really looks awesome to have this bobcat off to the side all the orange construction barrels make it look like they're actively working on this scene here in the roadway. Beyond the houses, we get a glimpse of their backyards. This is another area where I hope to improve in the near future, just because they do lack some details in some cases, but I tried to do the best I could, including some small features like a back deck and some sheds for each house. And in this case, we have a fire pit with some lawn chairs. And for that other house, we have a small patio with a grill on the back, and you will even see a white picket fence that goes all the way throughout the backyards for both of these houses. At the very edge of the layout, you will see where our massive train line comes to an end, with the sprawling curves that finish out the train loop. And that takes us into our industrial area. So I do have a small industrial building up here in the front. This is not my own design. It is a design from Bevan's Bricks. Again, another amazing creator. If you haven't already checked out some of his videos on his channel, you definitely should. This is one of his mocks, and it definitely looks amazing in any industrial area. And this sits on a siding that splits off of the main line here, utilizing some of those amazing Radius 104 switches. And that siding takes us all the way around and into our next industrial setup. So there is a road that splits off of the main road, which will actually take you back to the main industrial warehouse back there. And I do have two sidings where you can see some of my custom train cars. So we're gonna flip around back and take a look at those with a little bit more detail. On the back sidings here, you will find two of my custom train car designs. So the first of which is completely custom. These are my tank cars, and they were designed off of some various images that I found online. And then the other car is these hopper cars. Now, these are not my own design. These are actually found off of Brickhaven, and there are free instructions to everybody on there. And this is an amazing design, and I think they really work very nicely on my train layout. And then sitting on the siding is my custom warehouse. So this is a completely custom mock of my own, and this utilizes a really cool technique of putting all of these 1x1 sand blue tiles on their side to create the walls, and then for the roof I'm using a lot of the 1x2 light bluish gray grills without fully pressing them down. You can see that they're only pressed down on the left side and they're sticking up on the right side. This creates a really cool metal shingle effect, and it's actually one of my favorite designs to use on an industrial building like this. And then there is a platform back here, so you can see there's a ramp that leads up to it. And this is just kind of the unloading platform for the siding. You can see some big industrial doors back there. We have some pallets on the platform here. And this utilizes some of those shield tiles to give the platform a little more of a broken concrete look, which I think definitely adds to the realism back here. And then at the front of the building, you will find some semi-trucks. So I do have the official Lego City Toys R Us semi-truck back from 2011 on leaving the industrial yard here. And then I made a custom mock based off of that Toys R Us truck in black and white rather than blue and white, so that way I could have another semi-truck sitting in front of the building here. This is a very cool detail that I'm very happy to have. And then if we move along to the front of the building, you can see there's just a small staircase that will take you inside. On the left side of the industrial yard, you will find a small additional siding that currently only houses one of my custom tank cars. And then I do have this water tower and signal tower that are actually taken from the roof of the Daily Bugle model. So these are not my own design. And these are just kind of a temporary placement for something that I hope to custom build in the near future, but just wanted to give a little bit more of an industrial look to this area, and it helps to fill in the area around these sprawling curves. Flipping around to the back of the layout, you can see a closer look at the backyards of the sand greenhouse. You can see the patio, the shed, and I definitely hope to improve on some of the landscaping details in the backyard area. And then on the side, it looks like there's somebody performing a stunt jump on a mountain bike here, which is pretty cool. And then we can get a closer look at the church parking lot. Looks like they're going to be getting some repairs done here soon. And then that takes us to the church itself. Now, I definitely want to highlight this stained glass window, which is not my own design, but nonetheless looks absolutely amazing on the backside of the church. And then I used more of those translucent cheese wedges to create the stained glass windows on the side here, as well as in the front of the building. And then another really cool design that I'm very happy that I was able to come up with was using the black minifigure stands to actually create the roof of the church. Now, I just thought this was a really cool design because I had a lot of these laying around as I used to collect a lot of these CMFs. And to be honest, I think it looks a lot better than just doing a plated or tiled off roof because it gives it a bit of depth and detail that is unlike any other roof design that I could have come up with. So this was just a really cool tidbit that I wanted to share when it came to building my church mock. And then if we flip around to the very front, you can see we do have the bell tower and then the front doors at the very front with a small awning and the entryway to the church. While at the back of the layout, we can get a better look at those train bridges, as well as the start of the river, which runs next to the reversing loop on the right side. And then we can also pan to get a better look at the front of the sand greenhouse, including its front porch and the sidewalk that leads to the driveway. All very cool small details that I wanted to include on these houses to give them the absolute most realistic look. Flipping around back to the front, you can see I do have the continuation of my custom telephone poles, which do officially come to an end at the very edge of the layout here by the final train crossing. You can see the very last one here, including the guide wire with some of the yellow plastic bits, so that way people don't get electrocuted by that. But that is pretty much going to be the end of the residential expansion overview. Now, this was definitely a long time coming to get this area fully constructed, and unfortunately this does mean the end of this layout because this is the full size of the table that I have to work with down here, and so I don't have any more blank space to fill. Obviously, there are lots more details that I plan on adding to this existing layout. But as for future Mills plates or future projects, we might have to move to a new table and begin a new layout. So definitely stay tuned for that. In the meantime, though, we have lots of additional upgrades we can make on this layout. This layout will definitely not be going anywhere anytime soon, as I still have lots of lighting to do and lots more landscaping details that I hope to add in the very near future. But this is the completed look at the residential and industrial area as of right now. And I'm sure we will have lots more updates on this area going into 2026. But I hope you enjoyed today's video, taking a closer look at the brand new residential and industrial area expansion. I am thrilled with how this area turned out, and I can't wait to add many more exciting details to this area in the future, as well as possibly starting a brand new layout with a completely different look on a separate table coming very soon. So you're gonna have to stay tuned for that. But for now, thank you for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to subscribe, leave a like, and comment down below if you have any ideas or suggestions for this brand new expansion area. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, and I am very much open to adding lots more details to this area. So with that, we will see you next time on the Brickhaven project.